This is Chewbacca. It is early as hell. March 2nd. It's Friday. It's 6:38 a.m. I am on my way today to go see elephants. I signed up for this half-day elephant jungle sanctuary thing, and in theory the place is about an hour and a half away from where I live, and they're supposed to pick me up, but they weren't very specific about when, so they just said between 6:30 and 7, so I'm standing outside waiting for about half an hour. But yeah, this is actually something that wasn't really on my personal Chiang Mai bucket list. I guess I'm kind of doing this because FOMO. This is something that a lot of people come to Chiang Mai to do specifically, and actually everyone I've talked to has raved about it. They really enjoyed seeing the elephants, interacting with the elephants. I personally am not a big fan of zoos, and I think that I could probably get by okay without seeing elephants, but I don't know. I guess we'll see how this goes. It wasn't that expensive to do it. It's like 1,700 baht, which is like a little less than $60, and I don't know. It could be fun. It could be fun. I guess it's a semi once in a lifetime experience. You don't really interact with elephants, at least this way, so we're supposed to be like feeding them, you know, watching them eat, right? Like bathing them, bathing with them. So you know, you don't really get to interact with elephants this closely, I think, in other places. One of the very real concerns here, though, is that you know, it used to be they would let people ride the elephants, and it became very clear very quickly to a lot of people that this was kind of abusive, because the way that they would keep the elephants moving is by like hitting them on the head and things. So it's unclear how ethical all of this is, to be honest. Most of these places in their marketing are saying that they are ethical now. They don't let you ride the elephants. They claim to be places where elephants are taken to, you know, recover from whatever. But it's unclear, hard to tell whether or not that's really the case. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is kind of a commercialized business, right? And on some level, the elephants are, well, hopefully they're being treated well by tourists on a daily basis, but they are kind of being used for the entertainment of tourists, which is on some level questionable. But I don't know. I guess I'll reevaluate when I get to the end of the day. But hopefully this will be cool. Alright, just got here. Some elephants. Interesting. Given this very colorful shirt, I'm told that if I wear this, the elephants won't be afraid of me. Oh, much larger than me. Don't know what they would be afraid of. Yes. Very friendly. Very dexterous. God, it eats quite a bit. Alright, it is 2:02 p.m. I'm back from seeing elephants. I was not able to record much more than feeding elephants and kind of walking around with them because after that we did some really cool stuff that involved a lot of water, and unfortunately my phone is very, very not waterproof. So maybe I should invest in a GoPro, I don't know. But yeah, I was honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect about that experience. The initial like feeding elephants was kind of underwhelming for me. Like I thought it was cool, but then they gave us like 30 minutes to do it, and I wasn't really like that into it. So it was like, I fed an elephant a couple times. I fed the baby elephant, and then I was like, okay, good, I'm done. I don't need to keep doing this. But we ended up going, wasn't exactly to a river, so it just did feel pretty staged. Like I'm not really convinced that the elephants roam very freely. I'm also not entirely convinced that this thing is entirely ethical, but I don't know. We did go down to this little kind of like pond area where we washed the elephants. So, we swam with them a bit, washed them. It's funny because they would like sit down in the river. Not a river, it's more of a pond. They'd sit down and you like, throw water over them, and sometimes they kind of roll over and you'd be like, oh shit, like move out of the way so they don't crush you kind of thing. And then pretty much immediately after that is like, well, we just washed the elephants, so now what are we going to do? We're going to take a mud bath with them. So now that they're clean, let's get them all dirty again. And I think in theory, the mud bath is good for the elephants because it helps them protect their skin from the sun and from mosquitoes. At least that's what we're told. So that was also a fun experience, kind of like very muddy, kind of gross water. You can imagine there are more things than just mud in that water too. But kind of fun, just sort of slinging mud at like elephants. And in a certain sense, you kind of feel weird, like you're like throwing mud at an animal. Like it feels kind of like that's not something you should do. And I'm actually not entirely sure about that, right? But theoretically, I guess the elephants, in nature, I don't actually know that much about elephants, but theoretically, I guess they should be covered in mud. So we helped cover them in mud, and that was fun. And I actually took a tussle with one of the guys there, one of the elephant jungle sanctuary attendants, who was, very playfully throwing mud onto people's backs. So I decided to chase him and go for his legs. And unfortunately, while I did wrestle him to the ground, he also took me with him. So I actually submerged in this really gross combination of liquids. I don't know exactly, right? But that was kind of gross. I was not planning to put my head in there, but I ended up accidentally doing that. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a super long experience. I got back at like 1:30, and like we got there probably like 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30. So we were there. I was there with the elephants for probably 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I think it was perfect for me. They did have a full day option, but I think half day was enough. And I was exhausted on the way back, so I like passed out in the back of this little taxi thing. I don't think I've actually videotaped one of those taxi things now that I think about it, but it's just kind of in the back of a pickup truck, basically, and you're kind of just it feels like you're really not very secure at all. But I passed out in one of these, which is an accomplishment because they're bumping around a whole lot, and you don't really feel very safe in them. So I was pretty tired. But overall, I'm glad I went. I think it was a surprisingly fun experience. I really enjoyed bathing with the elephants and like doing the whole mud bath thing with the elephants. And I think it is a worthwhile experience, though I kind of question whether or not this is really ethical. They're not riding on the elephants, but it does feel kind of commercialized, so I'm not really convinced that it's like all for the elephants' sake, and I'm not really convinced that the elephants are necessarily like better off there than they would be in the wild. I don't know. But that's not coming from a zoologist, so, one man's opinion. But anyway, today's my last Friday here in Chiang Mai, so hopefully maybe do something fun tonight with some friends. I think my roommates are actually leaving tomorrow, so we might go out or something. But other than that, I now have half a day to work, and I got to see things, so slow travel.